Today we will be looking at how to describe trends. Specifically, we'll be looking at prepositions. So, there's 6 elements to describing trends. The first element is time phrases. For example, in the last 6 years, our sales have fallen. Here, in the last 6 years, is the time phrase. We can also use verbs to describe the change of the trend in the chart. At the same time, our taxes have risen. Have risen is the verb describing the change in the trend. We can also use nouns to describe the change. For example, this increase in taxes has put pressure on our profits. Here, this increase is the noun describing the trend. Next, we can also use prepositions to specify the amount of change. For example, in response, we have cut expenses by about 10%. By about 10% is a preposition, prepositional phrase specifying the amount of change. Next, we can use qualifiers. These are adjectives and adverbs to also specify to a less precisely the amount of change. For example, there has also been a marginal increase in productivity. Here, marginal is imprecisely specifying the amount of change. Again, qualifiers are adjectives and adverbs. Lastly, we can use cause and effect expressions to highlight cause and effect relationships. For example, as a result, our profits have improved slightly. Here, as a result, is a cause and effect expression highlighting an effect. Moving forward now, we're going to be looking at specifically prepositions today to specify the amount of change. Let's move on now. We're going to start by looking at this chart. Okay, we'll be using this chart today to highlight how prepositions can be used to describe a trend and as an example. So this chart, what is it showing? It is showing the average immigration to the US by decade. In the y-axis, the vertical axis, we have the number of people who immigrated to America in the hundreds of thousands. In the x-axis, that is the horizontal axis, we have time divided by decades. Quick overview of the prepositions we'll be looking at: to, from, to, by, at, in, and of. So, to get started, verb plus to plus number. We use verb plus to plus number to specify the ending number after the change. For example, to is used with verbs that have a movement, such as increase, rise, fall, and drop. Let's look at an example. Okay, today we'll be looking at the change from the 1900s to the 1910s, and let's get started. So in the 1910s, the number of people migrating to the US dropped to 600,000. Okay, so what does this mean? Dropped is a movement verb. It's telling us that it fell. And what that means now is that now in the 1910s, that is, it was 600,000. Okay, moving on now, we're going to be looking at verb plus form, number plus to plus number. So we use verb plus from plus number plus to plus number to specify the starting and ending numbers. From and to are used with verbs that have a movement, such as rise, fall, drop, and soar. And again, we'll be looking at this change from the 1900s to the 1910s. So, for example, the number of people migrating to the US fell from 800,000 to 600,000. Okay? And again, fell is our movement verb. And what does this mean? This fell from 800,000 to 600,000? It means that there was a decrease, and the decrease was 200,000. Okay, moving forward now, we use verb plus by plus number to specify the amount of change. By is used with verbs that have a movement, such as, again, for example, increase, rise, fall, and drop. So, again, we're going to be looking at our changes from the 1900s to the 1910s, and looking at the 1910s specifically. In the 1910s, the number of people migrating to the US decreased by 200,000. Here, decreased is our movement verb. What does this decreased by 200,000 mean? Well, the meaning, the decrease was 200,000. Or if it was 800,000 before, now it is 600,000. Again, we're not specifying what the numbers were before and after. We're just specifying the amount of change. Moving forward, now we can use verb plus at plus number to specify the number where the graph is at any time. Okay, at is used with verbs that have no movement, such as, for example, stand, peak, be, etc., etc. In other words, when we use at, we're not really describing the change, but where that number is at any time. Okay, so again, we're going to be looking at this peak right here in the 1900s of 800,000. So we say the number of people migrating to the US stood at 800,000. Okay, again, stood is a no movement verb, it's non-movement. Okay, it's not changing. We're not describing a change. Besides stood at 800,000, we can also say peaked at 800,000. That's if there's a peak. Here in the 1900s, we had a peak. And we can also say was at 800,000. Okay, was doesn't need to be on a peak. Let's move on. We use noun plus of plus number to specify the amount something changed. Of is used with nouns that describe the movements in a chart, such as, for example, a fall. So we're going to be looking at this fall from the 1900s to 1910s, the 1910s, and in the 1910s there was a fall of 200,000, just as similar to fell by 200,000, but here it's a noun plus of and a number. Okay. Moving on now. Again, yeah, a fall, such as a noun, of, and then a number. Okay, now we're going to look at noun in noun, and we use noun in noun to specify how something changed. So noun plus noun plus in plus noun specifies how something changed. In is used with nouns that describe the movements in a chart, such as fall, such as a fall. Okay, so again, we're going to be looking at that change from the 1900s to the 1910s, and looking at the 1910s. In the 1910s, the fall in the people migrating was 200,000. Okay. And this means that we're talking about how much it fell. But real quick, note that the first noun describes the movement and the second noun is the thing that moved. Here's the people migrating. Okay, so a quick summary. Verb plus to plus number is used to specify the ending number after the change. Verb plus from plus number plus to plus number specifies the starting and ending numbers. Verb by and number specifies the amount of change. Verb at number specifies the number where the graph is at any time, and it's used with non-moving verbs such as stand, peak, and be. Noun in noun specifies the amount something changed, and noun of number specifies how something changed. Lastly, I want to quick reference this. The chart that I used came from this website. It'll be in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, or if you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns, please leave me send me an email, and I look forward to seeing you in class.